I live in two different towns right now with my high school sweetheart. We have two girls, both attend CE schools, and yeah, I appreciate Brett really pumped me up there in the bio
In the
on the
intro.
slide. It
Yeah.
looked pretty good. So I mean, I won't go through the whole thing, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm just happy to be here, and obviously, I know we'll get into it, but the fire safety topic in general is something often, and this time of year, such as National Fire Prevention Week next week. There's a heavy focus on the schools and the outreach with the kids. But a lot of times, folks, as we start getting older, it's something that people view the fire safety thing as more geared towards the younger group. And a lot of times, our younger folks, like school age kids, have a better knowledge base, real time about fire safety than their parents in many cases. So it's good that um, you all are on this call and we're talking about these things because these are these life skills that never go away, whether you're 2 years old or 100 years old. All these different things apply to help keep ourselves safe and others safe, no matter where we live, whether it's a single family home, an apartment, or assisted living type facility.
What's fascinating by this whole process is that um, you've been involved in this for such a long time. You bring great expertise to our audience. So I think those on the call they're listening today, they're listening live, right? So we also have a lot of people, Eamon, that will be listening on the rebroadcasting of this, and we'll be able to get some of the knowledge and some of your expertise and hopefully help them prepare their house in a safe manner. Um, the one thing that the most popular question, we get always is, especially for senior adults, because that's most of the focus today, that are those on the call or maybe children that are trying to help, parents, is what are the safety concerns for older adults, and especially those that are electing to age in place? Because obviously that's an option, but what this whole presentation today is about, and what our focus of this uh, of these workshops is about, being proactive, right? Not reactive. And I couldn't think of a better person that could talk to us about being, proactive, the things we can do to prepare to make the house safe for everybody. So if you could, here, let me get back to my. Can you see the screen? Okay, the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Uh, okay. Let me. I just want to get this. For some reason, my screen is just not cooperating today, and I don't know. I'm trying to advance, and it seems like it's frozen. Bear with me one second. Okay, now you can. You just went to the second slide. Importance of senior specific safety.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, wonderful. So, Eamon, could you give us some guidance and help for those on the call about some fire risk? What's common? And let's talk specifically about smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. And most importantly, something I didn't know. I recently had a property where the township came in to do an inspection, and they were looking at the date of the devices. And they told me that, when they hit the 10-year mark, they need to be replaced. If you could dive a little bit into that, and anything in the kitchen, the whole process, if you could.
Sure. I might. You can see me now. Hopefully, got the video
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I had to transition outside because my dog's going crazy right
Perfect.
now. So
Yeah, you're on.
it's a nice day, so we can do this. Yeah, like the number one cause of house fires or fires in general in buildings are found in the kitchen. So typically, if folks start to heat something, whether it's in the microwave or they have something cooking on the stove, and it's one of those, like we've all done it. I've done it. I just leave for 30 seconds. I'm boiling something. I got something going on, and then something boils over, or maybe there was a towel too close to the stove, something like that, and the fire starts. Where you're right in the kitchen, and you just have a flash fire. You have an oil, so it gets too hot, and you have a flash fire, and the fire gets going. So from a common standpoint, that general kitchen area is typically problematic. So look at our microwaves, our electric stoves, our gas stoves. I mean, there's different risks with those things. So our electric stoves um, tend to be a little bit safer because obviously gas, we know if we could get gas leaks, uh, maybe it's not burning as clean as it should. We're getting more of an open flame with our gas type stoves versus electric stove versus that cooking top gets real hot. So there's different risks. There's pros and cons of both. The biggest thing we teach the kids, and really, I mean, it kind of applies to us too as adults, uh, treating that kitchen, especially around that stove area, as a safety zone, right? Not getting too close, not wearing baggy clothes. We had several years ago in Easttown Township that unfortunately had a clothes caught fire. Had what the heck am I trying to say here? A shower, like a shower gown, robe. There you go. I don't know, like gown, but
Yeah.
had a robe on, just a little baggy, and just got too close. And she was just heating up water on a gas stove for morning tea, and just was again too baggy. Got a little close and realized it. Fortunately, they were okay. Got a little bit of minor burns, but just like simple stuff like that you don't really think of sometimes when you're in the kitchen. But it goes without saying. Obviously, if we're in a living room, we have our TVs at different appliances that you could potentially have an electrical type issue. So I don't think for most people it's too surprising, just with all the different things in a kitchen that exists as far as heat sources. That really is a hot spot for fires potentially starting.
What do
Uh,
you recommend, Eamon, in terms of especially the kitchen with regard to like fire extinguishers? And I hope you're going to talk about that. There's all
yeah,
these different letters and symbols on fire extinguishers. Is there one you recommend for our listeners?
yeah. The one thing that's been really cool to see in the time I've been involved in the fire service is the evolution of fire extinguishers. A lot of people, it can be intimidating when you're looking at that big red thing hanging on the wall. How does it work? What do I do? There's a lot of different companies out there now, like Kitty, for example, First Alert, that design very small kitchen specific extinguishers that they are intimidating and two are very simple to use. So Brett talked about the rating. So the easiest thing for a kitchen is just getting an ABC rated extinguisher. So when you're looking at those symbols on the extinguisher itself, you think of A fires, think of like ordinary type things, your wood, your paper, your ordinary type products that you find in a home or just in a business. B, that rating is, think of things like in a barrel or a container. So your oils, gases, those types of liquids are
Okay.
acceptable. And then for C type fires, think of current, electricity, right? So if an outlet's sparking, we have some electrical equipment involved in a fire. So the ABC from a home standpoint, whether you're living again in an apartment, you're in a single family dwelling still, a townhouse, or maybe some folks here live at Paley Point, for example, and you just have a nice little condo or apartment type unit in there. That type of extinguisher, if you're looking at a 5 pound or a 10 pound, that's like the perfect thing to have for that setting. Um, you can go even deeper into specialty type extinguishers you find in restaurants. We don't necessarily need to get into that today, but for you and a residence, an ABC rated extinguisher is going to cover anything that you potentially would encounter
Okay.
in your residence. I'm sure some of the folks you all are very experienced here in life probably recognize that if you don't have a fire extinguisher, one thing that a couple things you can do in the kitchen. If you get say we're cooking eggs, we're doing something, we get a little flash fire in the pan, right? So, what's some simple things we can do? We can turn the heat off, right? We get an oven mitt. We can take wherever that issue is going on, we can slide the pot over, and that problem will start to help to mitigate itself. If we think it's not calming down, we can grab our oven mitt. We have the lid for the pot or the pan, whatever's going on, and we can simply just slide that carefully over top of whatever's going on in that pan, and that's going to exclude the oxygen,
Okay.
snuff that fire out. The other thing, which I'm sure some folks know, baking soda or baking powder. We use baking powder in the kitchen, and that can be an extinguishment. So this baking soda is what you want to use. What that does, that acts very much like the material found in what's called a dry fire chemical extinguisher, the ABC rated extinguisher, and that baking soda material acts the same, but that's helping to break down what's going on with that chemical reaction with the fire going. If you do try to use baking powder, it's a totally different thing. So if you go on YouTube and look at videos and they do experiments with different materials, don't confuse the two. Baking soda and baking powder are two different things and operate. But typically, I tend to lean people towards just, again, you have a food flare up, slide it over to the cooler side of the stove. Make sure you have the oven mitt and just have a lid nearby at all times. The other thing that you're reminding me of, and there's been some infomercials for this, and they actually might have been on Shark Tank. There are some products now. They have the fire blankets.
The blanket.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw the blanket.
Yeah, so it's a similar type thing with some of the electric cars. They actually make a bigger blanket that get pulled over top of the car.
Okay.
It's the same type of concept. It's smothering the fire. So blankets are like that is a legitimate thing. They're small. They can help with, again, a small kitchen fire. If somebody accidentally catches fire due to the example I talked about earlier, stop, drop, and roll. If it's not really conducive to roll enough, getting a blanket to help smother the flames, that's acceptable as well.
How about how about like the faucet? How about water? Is that a good thing, a bad thing?
Now it reminded me of a fire we had on Thomas or West Valley Road, probably right before COVID started, and it came in as a house fire. We got there, the person had extinguished the fire, but literally looked like a bomb went off in the kitchen. They had grabbed the whole pot of water, throw it on the fire, and it basically exploded in the kitchen. So you kind
Ooh.
of think of what it looks like when you throw paint at a wall or mud at a wall and it splatters everywhere. The whole kitchen was just black, like almost like an art project throughout the whole kitchen. Now, luckily,
Huh.
it burned themselves, but that's another thing that you could go on YouTube now. We can see that water on grease type fires, anything on the stove is a bad idea because basically it's just we don't do that. Even as firefighters, that's something we're not doing because it can create a chemical reaction that's not favorable to extinguishing a fire properly.
Does that apply same to an outdoor grill when you're barbecuing and all of a sudden the hamburgers, flame up and it gets out of control?
Yeah, I mean, we do. I mean, obviously, we're getting towards the end of the season here. Same type of thing. I mean, we always tell people same type of principles, right? Keep the lid shut. If you think it's starting to leak down a little bit, if you can safely turn that gas off, turn the gas off, and then just shut the lid, shut the burners off, and let it sit. And if you,
Okay.
again, a small fire extinguisher, you think it's not kind of stuffing itself out, you can do a couple little squirts,
Okay.
then shut the lid.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, like, fire in general is disconcerting, but I think there's very just basic things. So just take a deep breath and just think of the common principles. Fire needs oxygen to live and to grow. It's a living thing. So one of the first things I learned, 16 years old, sitting at Berwyn in the old firehouse in the second floor, Vinny DiMartini explained to me all the fire dynamics, how things work, and if you really do take a step back and think, it's like, yeah, that just makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's just very basic things we can do instead of just hitting the panic button. We start running around like, is that, probably people watch Seinfeld on here. George Costanza, he has a fire in the kitchen, and
Yeah.
we're hitting grandmom over. We're getting out of the house and getting the kids kicked all over the place. So, yeah, it's very basic things you can do. The main thing is just trying to stay calm as possible, make good decisions.
Okay. And could you touch on like the house numbers and locations for them and escape plans for those if
Yeah.
you're trapped inside of a house? What do you recommend with laddering and different things when you're on the second floor of a house?
Yeah, the addressing is important. Make sure you have reflective addressing on your residence. Obviously, in the specialty facilities like a Paley Point, those places typically they're fine. They got their act together. Homes are a big deal. If you're still living at home, um, you know, single, married, whatever your situation is, just make sure it's clearly marked on the street where your address is. It's very important. Um, yeah, as far as different devices you get from the second floor residents, there are a lot of great. There's a lot of awesome products that can latch onto a windowsill. They can drop out. You can climb down. but that's all dependent on what your physical kind of status is, whether you're young, middle age, older, whatever your deal is. There's folks that are in their 70s that'll kick a 30-year-old's butt, depending on what the shape they're in. So um, don't just get the products. You get the products. You're going to get the product, especially getting a ladder for a window. Make sure people use it, like practice on it. Because people get these, like, oh, I have it. I'm gonna say, yeah, but do you ever try it? Because it's not a regular ladder. That thing's going to kind of tweak and turn on you and move. They're great, but if you're going to get it, just make sure that you practice with it, whether it's for you, a loved one, or you have grandkids, whatever your situation is. Just make sure they do practice with it and know how it works. But yeah, they're very good products out there, and we do recommend those. If again, folks have practice with them, they know how to use them, and they are installed per the manufacturer guidelines in the residence.
Can I ask you about two other pieces that come to mind? And I see this a lot in single family homes, and that would be what's your commentary on lightning rods? And how about special protection in the circuit box for the electrical system of the house?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the electrical standards have been updated over the last, like the last 30 years. I'm sure with your real estate background, you've seen
Yeah.
that. And the standards are a lot more strict on, grounding, electrical circuits, number of circuits, generator hookups. So like the newer construction, typically we tend to see less issues with the electrical. Uh,
Okay.
Older homes with like some places still have knob and tube, which is kind of insane to think about. Um, Devon Prep, I believe, converted everything over there at the school. My father, in his failed attempt at retirement, that was his second career after teaching for 40 years at Great Valley School District. He worked at Devon Prep, and we were going down their basement. I'm like, holy cow, what is going on down here? It was like stepping back in time. So um, they've since converted everything, but we do encounter some houses with knob and tube, which is kind of nuts to think about. And just like anything else, as things get older, things start to degrade, they start to break down. So what we recommend is, getting an electrician, a certified electrician to come in if you have concerns. If you're in an older type home and you're like, hey, I haven't really looked at this, or maybe let's get this box checked to make sure it has some of the typical safety standards you see in today's electrical world in construction. Those are always positive things to do, just to double check. If you have a breaker that's, hey, this thing always trips, but I have some trick that I do to reset it, that's probably, hey, what, I should get someone to come in and look. And we've always had, probably growing up, we've seen weird things that happen in house electrical. We somehow do something, we flip a light switch and it fixes a problem, or does this or does that. That's not normal things. So, always get a certified electrician to come in if you have any doubts, or again, you're looking to upgrade a system to be safer in your home.
The I guess the challenge is people get complacent and used to and just assume nothing's going to happen, right? But the what we talk about in this workshop series is, about being proactive, right? Looking at this in advance before you have to be reactive and have a problem that can be challenging to deal with, especially in a fire situation.
Absolutely. The other thing you touched on, just evacuation planning,
Yes.
exit plans in the home. So obviously every home is different. We have 2-story, 3-story, ground level, rancher type homes, different things. Just knowing 2 ways out of every room. Sometimes that's not a thing. It's not possible. You only have one way of exit. So, mapping out in your head and practicing, even as we get older, that's always a good routine to get into. Even when we go out for a movie or we go out to dinner, obviously I'm program like this, when you go out to dinner, kind of look at where things are. It's not really necessarily a fire emergency. So if there's a, police emergency or something's going on, that's where exit plans are applicable as well. So a lot of times folks, you look at some of the different fires that happened in history, probably well, sort of recent, the Station Icon fire up in Rhode Island. That fire, there's a lot of different things going on, but most people gravitated to the place they came into. So if you were to have a fire in a theater, probably 90% of the folks are going to come in the way, or try to go out the way they came in. And then a lot of times if something's going on, you may say, hey, let me take a deep breath. I'm going to switch and I'm going to go out under the door, and typically you get out with no problem. So just look for those alternative exits really anywhere you are. That's one thing that we always preach in the fire service to folks. And can get chaotic in those bigger, settings as public places. So just something to be aware of. But yeah, Brett touched on, especially at home. So everyone's living situation is different. Have a central meeting spot outside, or if
Okay.
everyone's going to meet at this location, we tell the kids like it could be a rock, it could be a favorite tree, the playground, whatever it is. Because one of the first things that's going to happen if we pull up, say your grandkids are for a sleepover, and there's 4 or 5 people in the house, someone's going to ask whether it's the police department, the first arriving fire officer, the fire truck, depending on what the sequence is. Our priority is life safety. Your house can burn to the ground. It's replaceable, right? Our first priority is life safety. So we're going to do everything we can to save a life, prevent injury before we start worrying about saving the structure. That is the standard. Obviously, we get very excited when we save someone's home. That's a good thing. But only at the end of the day, our priority is life safety first, property second. So the sooner we know that, okay, Brett said everyone's accounted for. We're good to go. Great. Our kind of mode switches. Okay, now we're into property uh, preservation, saving the structure. All efforts dedicated towards that and keeping our first responders safe. So it's really critical. Once you're outside and you've evacuated it, we know where everybody is and accounted for once you're outside.
Any commentary on any home safety additions you think that are important for our listeners?
What do you mean, like renovations to a home? You're talking about?
Well, yeah, like what would you do differently to the house? Yeah, if you were going to change or,
Yeah.
things like, I guess, the grab bars and
No. Okay.
ramping and things like that.
Yeah, there's definitely there's yeah, I think that the ramping's a great option. Obviously, as it just look, it happens to everybody. It's not like just germane to certain folks. As we get older, start to slow down a little bit. Slip and falls are a common thing that we see. With emergency services all over the place. So hip injuries, leg injuries, things of that nature. So, making sure in the home that the railings we have going up and down the stairs, those things are in the wall properly. They're anchored right. We look at the bathroom having those additional grab bars. Typically, you'll see, and if you go to the mall, or you go to a restaurant, you see these ADA type things, and sometimes we kind of discard those things or dismiss those things sometimes. But those are very simple things and additions you can do, not only in your bathroom area, but also like showers. Just having those grab bars, just from a general safety standpoint, just to help with steadying and just basic navigation spots. So I think those are absolutely positive things that can help you keep us safe. And it's not we unfortunately we had a couple this week where we had someone who fell and they're on the floor for like 12 hours, fell in their
Ugh.
bathroom. They'll be okay, but broken hip and living alone, things like that. So it's even more prudent when we're in situations where folks are living by themselves, having those extra kind of little bit of safety, you know, just basic human type little assistance aids in the home. Why to avoiding a whole thing breaking a hip and going through rehab and just dealing with all the mental aspect of kind of working through that as an older person, that can be very stressful. So a little bit of investment in some of those things that you talked about, I think, goes a long way.
Did the person you said that you found on the floor, I'm assuming they didn't have, like, there's the pendant, right? That you can, the first alert or one of those type
Yeah.
things. Is that I'm assuming that person had nothing and you,
Yeah, she fortunately couldn't get to her phone, and then when the family couldn't get a hold of her, they went over to check on her, and she was on the floor. But the life alert, we all see the commercials,
yeah,
different products, but those are great. Obviously, iPhone has some different things with like accident detection, some of these different things. But really, in today's world, like you just mentioned, like we have the technology now. It's not like years ago where these things didn't.
didn't exist.
In
Yeah.
ways, these are saving lives, and these are getting folks help faster. We've had people that have been found that similar situation as talked about this past week, where they've had like a mini stroke and they couldn't. Yeah, they didn't have a button or they had something to hit, and then the key with a stroke is if you can get early detection on a stroke, you get the facility fast. A lot of times that mostly can be reversed. The longer you don't get help when you have a stroke, whether you're 20 or 80, uh, that deficit that we talk about, trying to reverse some of that damage, you just can't reverse it, unfortunately. So I think having having some of those, the life alert, I think, is a big deal. Having the fault detection with some of the different apps that are available on iPhone, I think those are some worthy things. And they get Vial Life on there too, Brett. Somewhere I think we talked about that. So, or,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So your information, so your blood type, emergency contact information, having those things on your fridge or in a readily accessible area for first responders if they come into your home, that's huge for us. If you have, say if you have like do not resuscitate order for some reason, uh, or you have
Medi-
you have some weird allergy to medication, that really comes,
medication list.
yeah, and that really comes into play for us if you're unconscious. Because obviously, when we go to a call, we can't. If you're of sound mind and body, you can have all your limbs hanging off, and you say, "Look, I'm not going." Legally we can't take you, right? But if
Okay.
you're unconscious, what we call is implied consent. Because Brett, if we find you, well, we assume Brett would want us to help him because he's unconscious, but you obviously cannot provide us information about your health history, your medication list. Maybe you have a specific specialty doctor at Paoli, but we're closer to Bryn Mawr. Like those are all critical things that help the police, fire, EMS figure out how to best help you, especially you're in a state that you can't communicate, whether it's unconscious, say you had a stroke and your speech is impaired. That can really help you and help us to treat you better and get you help.
That's a good point. So, like having all that maybe displayed on the refrigerator or somewhere so that if a first responder comes in, it's clearly identified, what the special medications, a listing of doctors, any medical situations. That sounds like good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing more of it, which is great. The other thing, depending on how, you know, you can do it in the car too. I mean, just having a glove compartment, you can do two separate lists, even in the car. Same thing if you get in an auto accident or you have a medical emergency in the car. Those are things we're looking for. We'll go to the glove compartment, look for obviously ID and stuff like that. But having that information in the vehicle with you is helpful as well.
You're also bringing up a really good thing. You mentioned all these various things for those on the call that are electing to age in place, and it brings up a good opportunity to say that we have this concierge system available to everyone on the call that if you need help with anything, not just, like handyman services, but specifically with outfitting your house with various, say, grab bars and ramps and things like that. We have a whole host of vendors that can help you. And Eamon, I offer this for everyone on the call, whether they ever decide to use our real estate service or not. It's just a community program I offer. It's no cost, and you can call at any time, and we'll give you recommendations, references on various vendors that can help you do anything you need for the house. So please keep that in mind for those on the call. If there's anything you need, we're here for you. Which brings up, Eamon, what do you think about, or what could you comment on some of the programs for some of our vulnerable residents? Anything you could share specific to that?
There's things that Chester County Department of Emergency Services offers. I know at the county level, there's different things that are available as far as uh, training. There's things that the Department of Aging does at Chester County to assist seniors that are vulnerable in the community that need special type of assistance. There's programs at the county level that help out. Obviously, we're all very familiar with the great work that Surrey Services does, and
Oh my God.
probably one of the greatest examples we have in the country as far as agency. It does a whole heck of a lot of work that for many people don't realize what's going on behind the scenes because everyone doesn't have large family systems and Fred networks. So Surrey fills a vital gap to helping out. So really, I mean, for me locally, I mean, I'm going to Surrey. Like we really need to get somebody help like now. They're going to react the fastest. Yes, county government, there's things, there's resources. The obviously fire companies, we do programs to help people. But I think as far as boots on the ground, ability, capability, for me, like I'm pushing people towards Surrey because they're going to get you help a lot faster. Not to denigrate or put down the other things, but oftentimes we always, we want government to be helpful, right? That's a local, state, federal level,
Yes.
but a lot of
Yes.
times
Yes.
we know the neighbor helping neighbor, that kind of mindset for me, Surrey to me is kind of the shining example of what can be possible in a community to help our seniors.
I'm a huge, also a huge fan of Surrey. I've done some fundraising and things for the organization, and many of my clients do, volunteering. That's how I was originally connected to Surrey Services. And what's so nice to watch is they've grown. They opened up in Bryn Mawr, they're in Delaware County, they're also in Chester County. I mean, they cover a really wide area. And people don't realize that they have a whole bunch of other services, like they have a dental clinic, they have a gym, they do all kinds of events. They have volunteers that can take you to medical appointments and things. It's really a great organization.
Yeah, I can't speak more highly of them, and obviously they're an agency that Berwyn protects down in Devon, so we have a lot of interaction with them.
Awesome. So let's jump into a little bit, if you could, about, like a checklist, if you will, about, does this pretty much sum up my graphic? It starts with the smoke detectors. And I talked earlier in the call that I just had an inspection on a property, and they told me that the smoke detectors had a lifespan of only 10 years, and there was actually a date inside. I didn't know this. Is that what your recommendation, every 10 years to replace them?
Yes, each of the manufacturers have recommendations, but the rule of thumb is 10 years for replacement. Some of the sealed lithium ion batteries, as far as checking them, you don't necessarily need to replace that battery because it's sealed in the unit. And that's a 10-year battery. In most cases, I don't really know any more that go past the 10-year mark. But 10 years seems to be the industry standard. And then obviously, depending on obviously you're not in a like a Paley Point. They have an automatic fire alarm system, right? So you wouldn't necessarily yourself be checking those.
Right.
But you're in a, like you said, you're in an independent, you're still at home, you're in your husband, whatever your living situation is, having that smoke alarm checked and just really just looking at what the UL listing is for it, right? What's the recommendation? But yeah, 10 years is the rule of thumb. And then obviously, checking that smoke detector every month, just to make sure it's working properly and make sure the battery's functioning in it. Again, even if you do have a 10-year sealed lithium, which is what we're pushing people towards, it's always good ideas just to check, because you all know, just like anything else, just because it's brand new or it says, oh my God, this is a 10-15 year guarantee, you always just want to double check and make sure those life safety features like the calm in a home are functioning properly.
I also see that different municipalities seem to have different regulations on quantity and location. Is there anything you would share to those listening on the call today and those that are going to be listening in the future? For does one go in each sleeping room, outside in the hallway, one in the basement, one on every level of the house? Is that pretty consistent? Because I've seen different municipalities have different regulations on that.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb is every sleeping area where someone's physically sleeping in
Okay.
should have a smoke alarm as well as a carbon monoxide alarm in that room. We could talk about kind of the distinction of those two things, but at a basic level, every room that someone's physically sleeping in, and then every level of the residence. One of the
Okay.
questions we get, and our the first place my wife and I purchased is in Chesterbrook, and it was a 2 bedroom, 2 bath condo. So we had, they're smaller units, right? Some of those like very
Yeah.
small shoe boxes, but
Okay.
um, we had a smoke alarm, and we had a smoke alarm in each of the bedrooms. So that my one daughter's bedroom, and then our master bedroom, and then we had a carbon monoxide alarm just plugged into the, like, kind of a small common hallway. And then we had one out towards the living area. So the residences get kind of, since you're in a bigger house, it gets a little tricky because there's more space to cover. But
Okay.
again, if you're hitting every bedroom where someone's in, sleeping with that door closed, which we could talk about that too. But yeah, the basic rule of thumb is, yeah, every level and then every room someone's in, just to kind of getting a little long winded here, but just to close it out. But I mean, that's the standard. So
And then you mentioned carbon monoxide. Is it okay if they're dual? In other words, they work for fire and
yeah,
carbon monoxide in
yeah,
one unit. That's okay?
yes, um, yeah. So the thing is kind of it's very frustrating. This is like a personal pet peeve. It is astonishing to me how expensive smoke alarms are in carbon monoxide. You go to Home Depot or Walmart, it is, to me, I mean, it's insane what those prices are. Um, so the reason I mention that is I think getting the combination units, getting those bang for your buck, and obviously everyone knows that money isn't growing trees, and a lot of folks are on fixed incomes, but it makes it hard for people to say I want to get all these areas covered. So I think getting the combination uh, is that most economical way to go, and that's completely acceptable.
Here's another question. I hate because I hear this all the time. What about the actual physical uh, location of it in the room? In other words, does it go on the wall, close to the ceiling? Where do you position that when you need to
Yeah.
install them?
Yeah, smoke alarms. I mean, rule of thumb in a bedroom, you're trying to get it. Yeah, if you get like on the ceiling itself, you don't want to tuck it too far into a corner. You want to
Okay.
get an area in the ceiling. It doesn't be dead center in the room, but an area where you're going to get good airflow.
Okay.
What can happen if you stuff it in a corner? You kind of get void spaces. So if you're doing like if you're to fill the room with smoke, you kind of get void spaces in the corners, right? So man
Hmm.
activate is fast. So if you're in an area where it's getting good airflow around as it's kind of monitoring, that's going to be the best location for that. As far as if you're doing like a plug-in carbon monoxide detector, again, that's going down at the lower level and that's fine. But yeah, typically for your smoke combo units with CO, getting it, in an area where you're going to get good airflow from all directions, where if something happens, it's going to sense either the smoke or the carbon monoxide that's filling up in the room, and then obviously alert you there's a problem.
Okay. And on that list, I noticed I didn't have fire extinguishers, but I'm assuming that's part of the program for, one in the kitchen. And do you have a second one, or what's your recommendation?
Yeah, the kitchen, the kitchen is obviously an optimal spot. Some people put them under the sink, they'll stick them in a drawer or something like that. If you can, like, really try to have in a spot where about it, obviously, but if for some reason someone else is there, like it's just like anything else. We tuck it away and we kind of forget about it, like where it is.
Okay.
So having even you can mount it. It's not the most visually appealing thing, but having it mounted or in a spot where it's out of the way, but it's at least accessible to you if there's a problem. That's really the biggest thing for that. And like I said, they make units that are, the little 5 pounder kitties, where literally
Okay.
a button versus the pull, aim, squeeze, sweep with the traditional fire extinguishers with the little pin on it. They have like little buttons on the small guys, and they you kind of tuck those things anywhere.
And I think you touched on the rest on my list. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you have the house numbers to be displayed. We had the grab bars, especially for the bathrooms. We didn't touch on securing rugs and wires. Are we talking about that for trip hazards? Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. We Yeah, rugs are a tough one because I mean, look, it doesn't matter. Again, I'm not trying to be ageist. I mean, it really doesn't matter if you're young, old, middle aged, whatever it is. Like,
Okay.
we all know rugs are kind of, if they're not,
at the bank trying to get the account set up for the campaign.
I think we lost Eamon. I don't know if you can. Eamon, you kind of froze. If you can hear me. For some reason, I can't hear him. I don't know if anyone else can.
not great. It's again, I call them some trash you kind of throw away rugs. Really go with an alternative product because
Okay.
again, it just saves that heartache in the long run for, God forbid you break your hip, your knee, or do something else. But we just really push people away from those as much as possible. As far as the wires, we all don't like seeing wires anywhere in the house running. Now with computers and everything else going on, there's wires everywhere, it seems. So just trying to use channeling the channel you can put over wires that they be running under something, or trying to keep those tucked out of the way. Again, basic tripping hazards. But really, the rugs are probably the most prevalent thing we see with folks. Just unfortunately, just tripping on them. And again, they get bunched up, or they catch their toe, or they're in their slippers, and it just gets and falling. So we try to,
Also,
as much as sometimes we like having those things, they look aesthetically pleasing in certain rooms. We just try to push people away from them, especially the small ones.
I've also seen lately that the homes that are built in like maybe the 70s, 80s, the 90s don't seem to, and even the older ones are missing like the electrical devices like the surge protectors and those types of things. Is that something that you would say would be a smart thing for those on the call to consider?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned lightning rods earlier, but
Yeah,
yeah, like the lightning rod systems, depending on how your home's located, they do have residential products which are very helpful. I think the surge protectors, absolutely. I think the biggest thing with the surge protectors is just knowing and getting a legitimate surge protector. A lot of times we'll go on Amazon or we'll go to a store and we kind of see a like surge. Well, what is it? Like, what's it rated at? And I think the biggest thing with the surge protectors, and this is critically important. The best example I give you is Tredyffrin Easttown School District. Right, we had to make a big change across their district after a couple of incidents. Do not plug a microwave or a toaster oven into a surge protector of any type. They are not designed to carry that electrical load in a surge protector. It will ultimately burn it up, melt it, and will start a fire. We had an issue, and this goes back a few years. Rich Gusick, who's a superintendent there, we've done a bunch of things up there to improve some of the safety in the schools. And we had an issue in the cafeteria where they had a toaster oven plugged into a surge protector. Luckily, this was when school wasn't going on, and the surge protector burned up because they had a toaster oven plugged directly into it. So the only thing that should be going in a surge protector are like you have a computer, you plug a computer in, plugging a TV in, like having those protections built in for those is completely fine. So your microwaves, your toaster ovens, those things need to be getting plugged directly into a wall. Preferably with those, just having the GFI protection on those outlets where they're plugged into. That's the best alternative or the suitable way to handle having some additional electrical safety built in with those bigger products. But your microwaves, your toaster ovens, those are drawing a tremendous amount of energy that a computer and your normal household things you're plugging in don't draw. So there's anything I can stress to people, and heaters as well. The small space heaters, do not plug this into a surge protector because I'm telling you, it will eventually burn it up. Like take it to the bank, it's going to happen. Because we go to office buildings all the time, and we'll look at, and you see it. We're like, it's got to go directly into an outlet. That can't go in the surge protector. So
I didn't know that. That's an awesome, awesome tip. I'm going to make sure that we take some of your tips and try to educate as many people as we can because that could save someone's life. I mean,
yeah,
that's a major recommendation.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Um,
And the other thing with the heaters, which is nice because obviously look at some of the older models, where they fell over, they want to turn off. The new models coming out all have, if they fall over, they're still going to be hot, but they have a kill switch, right? They have a safety
right.
switch. They'll eventually they turn off, which is great. But yeah, the space heaters, we see that all the time. Like that, we're going to start getting to that season where we get like odor investigation calls, as they call them, right? So, and we'll be in an office building, you'll smell like that smells weird, and you can kind of tell the smell. That was a surge protector. Let's find it. Then you'll see like a wire melted on the surge protector from the heater being plugged into it. But it's a lot of office buildings we see that. Not so much residences, but really in the office building setting with people desks. It's just the surge protector are not. Yeah, they're not designed not designed for that. So yeah, please, if anything, I can encourage you. Don't plug those heaters into the surge protectors.
So it sounds like that would be you kind of just answered the most important step that people could take was about using, your toaster oven, your microwaves, and your little space heaters. Keep them away from the surge protectors, right? Go directly into an outlet if you're going to use one of those devices.
Yes.
And then the other tip I heard earlier for those, we had a lot of people join. Some people I saw came in a little late, but that's okay. Could you also repeat the one you said earlier about using the baking products, whether it was baking powder or baking soda on top of a flame?
Yeah, so we were just talking about alternatives. If you do a fire in the kitchen, just a
Okay.
couple safe alternatives versus using an extinguisher. Again, if you're able to do this in a safe manner, is make sure you have the oven mitt present, having lid nearby, and then carefully sliding that oven mitt over top of the pot or pan, and then turning obviously off the heat source, whether it's gas or electric. And then if you're able to safely do so, sliding whatever is burning, or if the pan's still smoldering, sliding it to the cooler side of the oven or stove top if you can safely do that. The other thing, if you don't have a lid available or the oven mitt or the timing, depending on what's happening, if you have baking soda, using a little bit of baking soda product and kind of throwing it gently onto the food flare up, whatever have you, that's acceptable. Baking powder is the alternative. Acts a lot differently with fire. Actually, create more of a I'll say like mini explosion. It's almost similar to act the way water would, throwing water onto a grease fire. Not a good thing. And you go on YouTube and you can see different experiments with it. But those are just some basic kind of old school ways to deal with the problem. I mean, typically having the lid and the oven mitt nearby at all times, that really is the to me is the easiest thing, unless you really have a
Okay.
crazy large fire going, something small you can deal with. A lot of times, just again, put the lid on it, let it sit, don't take it off. Um, Fire needs oxygen to live and breathe and grow. We eliminate the oxygen, we eliminate the problem.
This was probably one of my best Saturdays from a learning perspective, even for the host. I really am very grateful, Eamon, because those are the kind of tips that could save someone's life. So we're very fortunate to have you today. I'd like to also let everyone know if you want to connect with us, we welcome that. We're on all the various social platforms like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube. So please follow us. I talked earlier, those that uh, didn't get a chance. I think, Eamon, I originally met you at your firehouse. We do a Thanksgiving Day pie giveaway. So those on the call, if you want to be part of that, follow us and you'll get an invite. But I remember taking a whole bunch of pies to the firehouse for the first responders. And we are so fortunate and grateful to have you here on the call and have all the responders in our community that I'm just so happy that you could come out. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Has been very quiet today. I don't know if it's weather or whatnot. Normally, Eamon, we get lots of people chatting and questioning, and maybe you answered all the questions. Is there any other questions or that we have? I'm just looking to make sure I didn't miss anything. Nothing I see. Is there any final comment, Eamon, you'd like to, make to the audience?
I guess just a few plugs like locally. Berwyn just opened its new firehouse in Bridge Avenue
Yes.
this past or last weekend. Yeah, last weekend. So that was pretty cool to be able to do that. We were in that old building for not the core of that building was 95 years old. So it was a long time coming. So folks that are local in the area, please stop in if you have grandkids, family. Want to come down, you please check it out. I mean, it's quite we went from one extreme to the other. So it was a project took forever to work on, and we're excited that that's done. Where I work up in Phoenixville, I got hired up there 4 years ago, and they had started their construction, their new building. Their old firehouse dated back to 1874 on
Wow.
location.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, so it's been for me like I've been in this like construction mode with these buildings. So it's cool to see the progress there. So again, anyone up in the Phoenix area, please stop by. But the investment by the community, including folks on this call, does not go unnoticed because tax dollars are a big deal.
Yes.
Getting grants from the state, local, and federal level are a big deal. Donations, all those things go into helping these projects work. We can't do it alone. Our system, just understand locally on the main line, primarily we have a combination system. So we have volunteers and we have paid staff. We have full-time employees and part-time employees. So the volunteer spirit is definitely still alive, but the volunteerism is stagnant and declining in many areas. And that's just, there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. So, yeah, so you're like the donations and just the general support, you stopping in to say hi, the simple things that, Brett talked about, just doing like pies and things like that. Like those are very positive things that help to kind of boost morale, whether folks are getting a paycheck or not. Like those little tokens of appreciation. And we know everybody can't necessarily donate based on their situation. That's okay. But, just stopping in and saying hi and just checking in and even doing, calls like this to talk about fire safety. These are fun things, at least I enjoy doing. And I know many of the other guys and gals do as well. So, don't be shy. I mean, that's my closing remarks here. These fire stations, and we're here to serve you all, again, whether we're getting a paycheck or not. So we are a resource for you, and anything we can do to help you all as you're kind of navigating through life and enjoying life. We're here to help.
I'd also like to say for those on the call and those that couldn't make it, I've gotten a lot of messages where things came up and they had registered, they couldn't attend. There will be a recording of this in about maybe a week to 2 weeks. Those that are registered on the call will get a copy of it, and anyone else that registered will also get a copy. So we have, I think this is our 17th webinar from the ABCs of Senior Housing. Anyone on the call, you're welcome to go into our YouTube channel or on our website, the www.brettfurman.com, and we have a whole resource section of recordings from all prior events. And some of them are listened to like thousands of times. So we know the information's out there and it's good, but today I think was especially good. And Eamon, for spending the Saturday with us, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it because I learned a ton of stuff, and I'm going to try to do a really good job to summarize it and get it out so people will have that knowledge, and hopefully it will save someone's life. That's the key.
So I'll add one more in. I had the
Okay.
So I mentioned National Fire Prevention Week. So I don't know if everybody can see that. I can send it to you.
Yeah,
So
please.
this year's theme is charging the fire safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home. So as everybody realizes, everything seems to be battery operated now. So the lithium-ion battery presents a whole new challenge for firefighters and responders. So just make sure when you're charging, whether your phone, your iPad, your different things that have lithium batteries in them, or just recharging batteries, always follow the manufacturer guidelines. Brett, I'll give you information on this so you can share
Please.
with folks. But this is definitely new. This was not an issue when I started in 1998 as a 16-year-old at Berwyn. This is a new kind of world we're in with electric vehicles, and we can talk about that maybe another time. But the ion battery safety stuff, we'll definitely get that out. We can, if
Please
folks need a
do.
pamphlet too, but it's just something I wanted to mention.
I'll get it up on the resources of the website in the ABC section. I'll add that, and then I'll make sure everybody on the call or those that request a copy get a copy of it as well, Eamon.
Great.
Yeah, no other call. I'm just checking, but yeah, thanks. It's a great Saturday. It's a great day. Nice weather. So, and I thank everyone who attended. We had a lot of people on the call, and I know we had some people that couldn't make it, but we'll make sure you get a copy of the recording. And again, Eamon, I appreciate your time today, and everyone have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and a great Saturday.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
Samantha, thank you too if you're on.
Yeah, I think she is. Okay.